This is the ultimate camera comparison video of Pixel 6a versus Pixel 8, the older A series versus the newer flagship Pixel phone. Can we spot the difference? Let the battle begin. Let's start with color profile and saturation, and I'm impressed with both phones. Although there's a year difference and the series are also different, one is coming from an A series and the other one is a flagship phone, both phones will produce stunning and natural looking photos. All throughout this comparison test, you will notice that the colors on both phones are closer in real life, and that's what Pixel phone produces, a more natural looking images. The older Google Pixel 6a of 2022 might be the best value camera phone today. I heard in the comment section that some people was able to buy this phone around $200, and that's the price of an entry-level phone. And this cheap phone will produce great looking images, almost the same as the new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro, but some differences in terms of color profile. Pixel 6a tends to produce brighter images than Pixel 8. You can see this on the sky, and the brighter colors like the yellow, orange, and pink, I should say more inviting than Pixel 8 because they're both natural looking, so obviously the person looking at the images will lean towards the brighter photo of the two. I also noticed that the images are a little bit cropped in compared to Pixel 8, although there's an ultra-wide sensor of Pixel 8, but in terms of image quality, I will always trust the one from the main sensor, so just something that you might need to know. Your shots will be a little bit punched in if you're using Pixel 6a. I had to adjust some of my shots to make them the same. While the colors on Pixel 8 is a little bit more saturated than Pixel 6a, it gives the images a little bit of boost on a side-by-side test, but in reality, it's almost the same, looking like the shots from Pixel 6a. Again, just being honest, if you're posting this on social media, who knows if you're rocking the newer Pixel 8. Also, one good thing about Pixel 8 is it has a wider field of view compared to Pixel 6a, so you will always get more scene from the main sensor. Again, my sentiments, the main sensor will always be better than an ultra-wide lens, so you will have a wider perspective shots on Pixel 8. Looking quickly on the specification, Pixel 6a has a 12.2 megapixel main sensor with dual face detection autofocus and OIS, and a regular 12 megapixel ultra-wide with 114 degrees field of view. Both of the rear cameras can shoot up to 4K 60 FPS with gyro, EIS and OIS, while the selfie camera is an older 8 megapixel shooter that can only shoot 1080p 30 FPS video. Then the newer Pixel 8 has a 50 megapixel sensor with a bigger 1/1.31 inch sensor, almost twice the size as Pixel 6a, and it also has a dual face detection autofocus and OIS with laser autofocus. It is also combined with a regular 12 megapixel ultra wide with autofocus, and like Pixel 6a, the rear camera can shoot up to 4K 60 FPS. There's an upgrade on the selfie as the resolution is now 10.5 megapixel on Pixel 8 with a wider 20mm field of view. There's also an upgrade on the video resolution as the newer Pixel 8 can shoot up to 4K 60 FPS. Going back to the image test, I feel like you would love any of these two phones in terms of image quality. Sure, there are differences, but I don't think it's enough for anyone who wants a budget phone. If they're taking casual images and video, if you're just a point-and-shoot person who just wants to take nice pictures and some 4K and 1080p selfie, I think the older Pixel 6a still rocks in 2024. And looking at all sensors from the ultra-wide, wide, and even digital crop, colors are consistent. Right now we're shooting on Pixel 6a, this is 4K 60 FPS. Unfortunately, speech enhancement is not available on this mode, but you have 4K 60 FPS on the older Pixel 6a. Let's talk about portrait mode and a mixed feeling about this comparing both phones. There's nothing really wrong with the portrait modes of these two phones. I feel like both phones are great, but one is definitely better than the other. The portrait mode on Pixel 6a in general has warmer skin tone than Pixel 8. Feels like an image coming from a Samsung or iPhone. Kinda gives the person a little bit of glow. And also you will see that the exposure on Pixel 6a is brighter than Pixel 8. In some shots, I honestly don't like the way it looks because it feels like coming from a cheaper phone. Although we know that the sensor of this phone came from a flagship Pixel phone before, I feel like Google is manipulating the software of Pixel 6a for it to look inferior compared to the newer flagship Pixel phones. The subject separation or cutout is awful. I wouldn't trust the portrait mode of Pixel 6a to be honest, but if you're not nitpicking on the portrait mode or you don't really use it that much, then this phone will be okay. While the newer Pixel 8 has better subject separation, I wouldn't say it's perfect. It's still a hit or miss depending on the background. If it's busier, then the cutout might not be as effective as it is. I might prefer the white balance of Pixel 6a, but that's just my honest opinion about it. But what I like about Pixel 8 is the combination of filters and details. You would feel like there's a little bit of smoothing on my face, but Pixel 8 still gives you a lot of details on my face. If you zoom in, the white balance is neutral, so you will find that the complexion of Pixel 8 is whiter than the yellowish skin tone of Pixel 6a. It is also noticeable that the images coming from Pixel 6a is a little bit punched in compared to the newer Pixel. And looking at the selfies, same tendencies, you have a warmer complexion, surprisingly better contrast too on Pixel 6a, and you have a wider field of view on Pixel 8. There's also a big difference on night shots. Obviously the sensors are different, and Pixel 8 main sensor is twice as big as Pixel 6a. On areas that there's enough light to illuminate the scene, both phones will do well. Pixel 6a is a bit warmer and more saturated than Pixel 8, which is nice, but if you go in a pitch black condition, then everything will just dip down on Pixel 6a. It is noisier. I would also say that the white balance is also off on Pixel 6a. While the new Pixel 8 has a natural looking colors and the white balance is fairly neutral, and even on pitch black condition, the sensor will do well and will give you a decent to above average image quality. Again, not the best that I've seen on any smartphone, but Pixel 8 would do well on night shots. Also, this phone cleans up the noise better, and in terms of ultra-wide and main sensor, night shot images are consistent. This is the new Pixel 8 in 4K 60 FPS. Again, unfortunately, there's no speech enhancement on this mode, and you also don't have 8K video recording, but I think 4K 60 FPS is pretty good. Let's talk about who manages the flaring better. On this image, you will see that Pixel 8 is fixing the green tint on the flaring, so that's something that the newer Pixels are doing. The next image test is highlights, and if you look outside the window, you would still see that there's more information on the strong light source. You can still see the umbrella on the silhouette. And on the same area in the kitchen space, if we check the exposure and look at the shadows, you would still see more information on Pixel 8. In terms of close focus or macro, Pixel 8 has macro capability, so you can really go close on any of the objects. Next image test is a combination of field of view and sharpness, and on the ultra-wide lens, you would see that Pixel 8 has wider field of view, but Pixel 6a has slightly better sharpness, slightly better than Pixel 8. On the main sensor, still Pixel 8 has wider field of view, and both of them has the same level of sharpness. Both phones has 2x digital crop, and Pixel 8 has slightly better zoom, 8x digital crop compared to the 7x of Pixel 6a. And lastly, details. There's no Pro mode on any of these two phones, so you cannot do a 50 megapixel readout on Pixel 8, but if you zoom in on a 12 megapixel JPEG, there's so much details on Pixel 8 compared to Pixel 6a. So this is the image test of Pixel 6a and Pixel 8. Honestly, there's a big difference in terms of portrait mode and night shot. Now let's check the video quality. This is the video test from the stabilization, zoom, slow motion, and low light. Starting with the video stabilization on the ultra-wide sensor, 4K 30 FPS, just a difference in white balance, but I think the stabilization is just the same. This is the main sensor, again, 4K 30 FPS, and same as the ultra-wide lens, I think just a difference in white balance, a little bit warmer on Pixel 6a, but everything else are the same, even the sky. This is the selfie video test. Pixel 6a can only shoot 1080p or Full HD and a little bit punched in, while Pixel 8 can shoot 4K and a little bit wider too. Checking the video zoom test, Pixel 8 can crop in until 8x, while Pixel 6a can only do 5x. This is the older Pixel 6a in Full HD 30 FPS, and this is Pixel 8 in Full HD 30 FPS, but with a cinematic blur or the portrait video that mimics Samsung's portrait video and Apple's cinematic video. This is the slow motion test 1/4, and I think in terms of video quality, they're almost the same and they can only shoot in Full HD. And this is the super slow motion test 1/8. Again, in terms of video quality, almost the same resolution at Full HD. And lastly, low light video. I think there's no competition here. The bigger sensor of Pixel 8 is better exposed and a little bit sharper too than Pixel 6a. So this is the ultimate camera shootout of Pixel 6a and Pixel 8. Two great Pixel phones. If you need a great value camera phone and you're on a budget, I think Pixel 6a is still worth it in 2024. But in terms of the side-by-side test from the portrait mode, night shot, macro capability, details, selfie video resolution, and low-light video, the new Pixel 8 will dominate the older Pixel 6a. And there you go, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll continue to compare these two phones in our channel, so stay tuned. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.